Hey, 4xE fans, I wanted to share something that came from a really good post in the Jeep 4xE fans Facebook group. And it was from somebody who had I can't remember what the code was, but it basically was a failed hybrid battery. And he posted in the group, he said, I've got the check engine light. And he said the vehicle felt like underpowered, like it didn't have a lot of power, and he couldn't use max regen, and his AC didn't work, and he said it was just real sluggish running. And those of us that have like kind of tracked with all this stuff, we all kind of instantly knew that's a hybrid battery issue. That is one of the codes that tells the system that, hey, there's an issue with the hybrid battery. And here's the why behind the what. He made some awesome observations about what was going on with the system, especially the fact that the AC pump wasn't working. If you look on your dash, you've got a button on it that says AC. You can turn that on and off. And he saw that that was not working. And here's why that's an excellent observation. 04B recall updates included like warnings, like it would tell you if there was an issue going on. The 95B updates included some sort of ability to kind of shut down around the hybrid battery. Now, I have said on this channel a whole bunch of times that the Wrangler 4xE is always a hybrid. There is an exception, and that is when the system detects an issue with the battery that's bad enough that it wants to stop all operation going on with that battery. No power in, no power out. It will not charge when this is going on, and it's just a safety thing. It is designed to make sure that battery does not become any more unstable. And it's basically an instability. It's like a irregular voltage across the cells kind of thing that it's detecting, and it needs to stabilize that battery. And at that point, stabilizing it's not going to happen. But what we don't want to have happen is for it to become more unstable and lead to a thermal runaway situation that could then result in off gassing, fire, explosions, all the bad things we don't want to have happen. So what this reemphasizes, one, if you see those behaviors, if you see those things happening, don't mess around with it. It's not something that you can even. There's nothing to fix in that scenario. Once it gets to that point, it is a new battery. And if you find yourself in that situation where you go, "Wow, this thing's running weird. It's got a check engine light," reach down, see if you can turn on max regen. That's one way you can tell. Because what max regen does is it turns the motor generator in the transmission into a generator when you let your foot off the accelerator. That deceleration that you experience with max regen turned on is power going back into the battery. Well, we don't want that. We don't want any power going into the battery, and we don't want any power coming out of the battery. So you'll feel that sluggishness because you're going to lose. I got to do the math real quick. You're going to lose a whole lot of horsepower because you're losing both the P1 motor generator on the front of the engine and the P2 motor generator in the transmission in that scenario. So the one in the transmissions, I think 134 horsepower, and I can't remember what the one in the front of the engine is, like 40 horsepower or something. So imagine losing that much horsepower. That's what's going to happen. So you're only going to have the power of the four-cylinder turbo engine, which isn't bad, but you're gonna feel that difference. You're also going to see that the AC can't be turned on. That's because the AC compressor is a high voltage device. It's not a low voltage device. It's running off the IDCM, off the power of the high voltage battery. So again, we don't want any power coming in or out. So you're not going to have that. So you're going to, if you see those things, don't panic. It's nothing to fret about, but just know that that vehicle is not going to run very long at that point. It's going to go into like a limp mode to get you somewhere, and that's it. Because once you lose that, you have now lost the IDCM's ability to charge the 12-volt battery. And the 12-volt battery, as we have discovered, is critical. You can't run this gas engine without the 12-volt battery. So it will degrade. The operations of the vehicle will degrade, and you will eventually the whole vehicle will shut down. So it's one of those things where you don't want to try to mess around with it. You don't want to try to go too far. If you're on the highway when it happens, you're going to want to get off the highway as soon as possible. If you're driving home and you're close to home, that would be an okay place to take it to, depending on how far you have to go. Depending on how far you are from your dealership, it might even be just as easy just to drive it over to the dealership and just park it there. And they may not have an appointment slot for a while, but at least it's on site. But if you go too far, if you have too far to go, it's going to make you park it at some point. And I would rather be a little selective with my parking location. Like if I'm on the highway, I don't want to leave it on the side of the highway. I want to get it somewhere to where it can be safely towed from there. So I would look for the next off ramp or whatever. But if I was close to my dealership, I'd probably swing over there and just drop it off. If I was close to home, I'd drive it home. But I would not try to go very far because it is not long for life when once you lose the IDCM's ability to charge the 12-volt battery. So just know, I mean, we've seen around 20% as far as little polls we've run in the 4xe fans Facebook group. And so I, I mean, the odds are pretty decent that it's going to happen to people. And we're slowly seeing that percentage increase over time as some of these 21s and 22s get a little bit older. And I personally anticipate this summer, as during these warmer months, that we're going to see more failures. It seems like the past 2 years, once the failures started happening and people started posting about it in the group, it seemed to be during the warmer months in North America when we were seeing most of them fail. And that's because we're really working these things harder during the warmer months. And I mean, we're working the cooling systems working harder, so the battery's working harder. We're running an air conditioning compressor, so all those things. We're just making them work harder. And so those issues are going to come to the surface more when it's warm. So I'm just sharing this as a heads up kind of thing. I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom. I'm not trying to dramatize the situation, but I have a feeling that we're going to see more and more, over time. But this original post that I was talking about, what it really emphasizes is the importance of getting your updates done. If you have any outstanding recalls on your 4xe, or if you know anybody that has a 4xe and you don't know if they've had all their recall work done, tell them about it, because the number of people that have actually had these recalls done is surprisingly low. A friend of mine kind of tracks that. There's data available. I don't know where he gets it, but there's data available that they can see how many people have had 04B and 95B, those recalls done, and it's surprisingly low. I mean, at one point it was like a third, and that was a few months ago. Only a third of us had these recalls done, and this goes for the Grand Cherokee 4xe and the Wrangler 4xe both. So go to mopar.com, go to nhtsa.gov, and check to see if your vehicle has any outstanding recalls and get these recalls done. We have been able to find out there are a couple scenarios that have played out. One, people who have not had these recalls done have had fires, but sadly, people who have had all of these recalls done have also had. There have been a couple fires. So that instability in the battery, it is awesome that it warns us about it, but it's not a 100% fix. The only fix is going to be for Jeep, Stellantis, Samsung SDI to correct whatever design issue there is going on. And people may disagree that it's a design issue, but I would say this: one, there's more than just a 1 to 3% failure rate. Jeep, with both of these last recalls, they have said that, like, they think less than 1% of vehicles would be impacted by the recall. And then, the industry kind of looks at like the 3% rate. Like, we could accept 3% failure rate. That's just understandable. But the data we're seeing in those of us that are kind of nerding out and tracking this information, we're seeing about a 20% replacement rate So that to me is indicative of a design issue and something that Jeep, Stellantis, and Samsung need to own and really look at and do something about. If it was, you know, a 1% thing, a 3% thing, you know, 5% thing, okay, I get it. It's just one of those things. But we're seeing it and it's happening. So just be ready if you see those warning signs. Don't try to push it. Just get it parked somewhere quick and make sure you're getting your recalls done. Thanks for watching.